Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, the One Piece podcast that dives deep into the Grand Line, one chapter at a time. We are on chapter 73, The Monster from the Grand Line.
And Franky, this chapter puts Nami in one of the most chilling positions we've seen any of our crew in. The title might refer to Momoo, the sea cow, but the true monster of this chapter is Arlong. And the way he wields psychological control is far more terrifying than any giant beast.
It is absolutely brutal. The psychological vice that Arlong has her in, it's not about chains, it's not about threats of violence in that moment. It's about his complete and total confidence in her despair. He has engineered a situation so hopeless that he doesn't need to threaten her. That's a whole other level of super evil.
His own crew doesn't trust her. They see her as a human, an outsider, a tool that might be turned against them. But Arlong does. And as we see in this chapter, that trust is so much worse than their suspicion. It's the final lock on her cage.
It's a masterclass in villainy, and it's why this arc is so foundational for the series. Look, if you're buckled in for this whole Arlong Park ride and you want to be there the moment Nami finally breaks free, and trust me, it's one of the most iconic moments in the entire story, make sure you're following the show. You won't want to miss that chapter when it drops.
Let's get into it, because the storm is gathering from all sides, and the pieces are moving into place on a board none of them can fully see yet.
It kicks off in a way you just would not expect. We're with Hatchan, the octopus fishman, and he's just finished making this huge meal for Momoo, the sea monster. He's got what looks like a giant plate of takoyaki, which is a choice for an octopus to be serving.
There's a dark irony there, certainly, but it immediately establishes Hachi as a very different kind of fishman than the others we've met. He's domestic, almost goofy. He blows a trumpet to call Momoo in for dinner.
And that sound is what finally alerts Zoro, who's been wandering around completely lost, probably for hours. The man could get lost in a straight hallway, so this is about what I expected. He hears the trumpet, thinks it must be his crew, and walks up to find Hatchan just sitting there on the shore.
And there's this bizarrely casual conversation. It's surreal. Hachi, one of Arlong's top officers, asks who this human with 3 swords is. Zoro, the man who just single-handedly dismantled half their crew, says he's a guest. And Hachi just goes, "Oh, Arlong's not here. Want to ride to Kokoyasi village?"
He's literally chauffeuring his sworn enemy to the next plot point. It's the only way Zoro would ever find his way. It's like the universe knew. It knew Zoro's sense of direction was so bad that he needed an enemy to give him a lift. It's not just a gag. It's a plot device born from a character flaw. It's brilliant.
It's a perfect bit of character writing. Zoro's greatest weakness is completely short-circuited by the enemy's casual confidence. They don't see him as a threat, just some lost human. Hachi is so simple-minded and focused on his task, feeding Momoo, that the idea of this man being the legendary pirate hunter who wrecked their base doesn't even cross his mind. It shows a level of arrogance in the Arlong pirates. They can't conceive of a human being a genuine danger on their home turf.
It also speaks volumes about Hachi. He's not evil in the same way the others are. He's just part of the crew. He's got a job to do. He's friendly. It's this weird moment of levity right before the tension ramps up to 11.
Exactly. This calm, almost friendly interaction is the deep breath before the plunge. And while this is happening, the story shows us the other side of the coin.
Meanwhile, on the flip side, we cut to Luffy, Sanji, and Yosaku on their little boat. And they have a problem. A very, very big problem.
Momoo, the giant sea cow, the titular monster from the Grand Line, has surfaced right in front of them. And the scale of this thing is our first real tangible taste of what the Grand Line is like. We've heard stories, but now we're seeing it. This isn't a sea king, but it's a creature leagues beyond anything in the East Blue.
Yosaku immediately recognizes it. He knows this thing is from the most dangerous sea in the world. He starts panicking, but he's still thinking like a normal person. He figures it must just be hungry, and he suggests they give it some of their food.
A reasonable, diplomatic approach, an offering to appease a massive, unknown beast. It's what any sane person would do.
And Luffy's response is to immediately wind up and blast it in the face with a powerful punch. Because, of course it is. That is pure uncut Luffy logic right there. Problem? Punch problem. Big problem? Punch problem harder. There's no negotiation, no fear, just action.
It's his defining trait. He doesn't assess threats in terms of danger to himself. He assesses them in terms of being an obstacle to his goal. Right now, this sea cow is an obstacle. Therefore, it must be punched. This is the same logic he used against the giant tiger in Usopp's arc and against Moji's lion, Richie. If it's in the way, it gets hit.
Which sends Sanji into a rage, and it's so specific. He's not mad that Luffy attacked a giant sea monster. He's furious that Luffy hurt something just because it was hungry. That is the key detail.
It's the first time we see Sanji's core philosophy in action outside the context of the Baratie. He yells, "You don't just hit something that's starving." That line is the culmination of his entire backstory. It's the lesson Zeph hammered into him on that desolate rock. The lesson paid for with Zeph's own leg. To Sanji, hunger is a sacred state. It's the one thing that connects all living beings, and to punish something for it is the greatest sin imaginable.
It's so powerful. For a guy who presents as this cool, detached flirt, his moral code is an iron wall. You feed everyone, you don't waste food, and you don't punish hunger. It's not a suggestion, it's a law of his universe.
So Sanji, now the voice of reason and compassion, takes over. He offers Momoo some of their lunch to calm it down, to show it they mean no harm. He's living his creed.
And Momoo immediately tries to bite his hand off. So Sanji, without missing a single beat, just pivots into a devastating kick right to its head. The panel is incredible. The impact, the sound effect, the sheer whiplash of the moment.
Then it tries to retaliate, and he kicks it again, this time a full-force kick to the skull that knocks it completely unconscious.
I love it. That's the other half of the Baratie code. The other lesson from Zeph. You feed anyone who's hungry, but if they show you disrespect, if they try to harm you or your own, you put them down. No hesitation. He goes from compassionate chef to stone-cold fighter in a split second. There's no conflict in his mind. Both actions come from the same place.
It's a perfect encapsulation of his character. He will offer you a meal with one hand, but if you bite that hand, he will kick your teeth in with the other foot. They don't so much tame Momoo as they do establish that they are much, much scarier than it is. This monster from the Grand Line, this beast that would be a story-ending threat for any other crew in the East Blue, is just a minor inconvenience for them.
Exactly. Luffy's logic is it's in the way, and Sanji's is it violated the sanctity of a meal. They have completely different, almost opposing reasons, but they arrive at the exact same conclusion. Knock the sea cow out. That's our crew. A symphony of beautiful, violent chaos.
And then they just proceed to eat their lunch while this giant Grand Line beast is floating unconscious next to them. The casual power level of this new duo is incredible. Yosaku is freaking out, completely stunned, and Luffy and Sanji are just passing around sandwiches. It shows just how much the crew's strength has grown with the addition of Sanji.
They are not impressed by big monsters at all. While that's happening, Zoro finally arrives at Takoyaki village, thanks to his fishman taxi service, which is still the funniest sentence I've said all day.
And it's a ghost town, utterly silent. No one is there. The art conveys this emptiness so well, it's immediately unsettling. It's obvious to us that the villagers are hiding, but for Zoro, it's a complete mystery. He has no idea what he's just walked into.
But we do, because the story immediately cuts back to Arlong Park, and the place is a wreck. Fishmen are scattered everywhere, beaten and broken. The scale of Zoro's rampage is laid bare. He didn't just fight his way out, he tore a chunk out of Arlong's forces on his way.
Arlong returns, flanked by some of his top officers, and he is not happy. He sees the state of his crew, and there's this cold anger to him. His pride is wounded. He asks who did this.
And they tell him. One man, a swordsman, Roronoa Zoro. They point to the tower where Zoro cut his own chest, a detail Arlong doesn't understand yet, but the meaning is clear.
At first, he's furious. You can see the rage building, the shark-like teeth grinding. A single human did this to his mighty fishman crew? It's an insult to his entire ideology of fishman supremacy.
But then they tell him they captured the other one. They have Usopp. And just like that, Arlong's anger vanishes. It's like a switch flips. He calms himself completely, his expression shifting from rage to calculation.
That's what makes him so dangerous. He's not just a mindless brute like Krieg, who would have just screamed and ordered everyone to attack. Arlong is a strategist. He immediately understands the value of a hostage. One captive is worth more than a dozen beaten crewmates. The hostage gives him leverage, information, and a way to control the situation.
It totally shifts his thinking from revenge to tactics. He's thinking 2, 3 moves ahead. But then some of his officers start theorizing. They don't have Arlong's strategic mind. They're just looking for someone to blame. They wonder how Zoro got away.
And they immediately, without a shred of evidence, point the finger at Nami.
Oh, this part, I hate this part so much. It's so well written. They say betrayal is her specialty, that she must have been the one who let Zoro escape because she's a human, and at the end of the day, humans stick together. You can just feel the air go out of the room.
Nami is standing right there, having to listen to this. She just looks hollowed out. The panel focuses on her face, and it's just empty. She's been living this lie for so long, playing the part of a heartless pirate who betrays her own kind, all for the sake of her village. And the second something goes wrong, the very people she's been forced to work for accuse her of being a traitor to them.
The absolute pressure she is under is immense. It's a psychological torture chamber. Her own village hates her for being with Arlong. Arlong's crew hates her because they think she's still loyal to humans. She is completely, totally alone on an island with no allies, caught between 2 worlds that both despise her.
But she doesn't break. Not yet. She looks Arlong dead in the eye and denies it. She says she would never betray the crew. She holds his gaze, projecting a confidence she cannot possibly feel.
And her defense isn't some emotional plea. It's not, how could you think that after all I've done? It's a reminder of the rules, their deal. She tells him, I made a promise to buy back the village, fair and square. She's clinging to the one piece of logic in this nightmare scenario, the contract that has defined her entire adolescent life.
This is the crucial moment. The entire power dynamic hinges on Arlong's response. His officers are watching. Nami is watching. And Arlong believes her. He turns to his crewmates and completely shuts them down. He says he trusts her.
And that's the most terrifying part of the whole chapter. It's not a relief. It's not him showing faith in her. His trust isn't a kindness. It's a statement of ownership. He's saying, I know you so well. I know your desperation so completely. I understand the depths of your hopelessness. And because of that, the thought of you having enough of a spark left to betray me is impossible.
Exactly. His trust is a cage. By believing in her promise to buy the village, he's reinforcing the very trap he's built for her. He's reminding her, and everyone else, that this impossible task of raising an enormous sum of money is her only path. Therefore, she would never do anything to jeopardize it. He's not trusting Nami the person. He's trusting the mechanics of his own cruel system. It's psychological warfare of the highest order.
He has her so thoroughly beaten down, so convinced that this is the only way, that he doesn't even need to threaten her. He just has to remind her of the hope he gave her. The hope of buying her village is the chain he uses to keep her bound to him. It is absolutely brilliant and evil. It's one of the most chilling moments in early One Piece.
This public declaration of trust does 2 things. It solidifies her position, protecting her from the suspicion of the crew for the moment, but it also isolates her further. It puts a wall between her and the other fishmen, branding her as Arlong's personal tool, and it reinforces in her own mind that she cannot escape this deal. Her only way out is through.
So now her position is solidified. She's still the outsider, the human tool, but Arlong has publicly backed her. For now. Her mask is back in place, but we just saw how fragile it is.
With that matter settled, Arlong shifts focus. He says they need to take care of Usopp, the hostage, and then deal with the swordsman who is still on the island. He's putting his pieces back on the board, confident he's in complete control.
But the board is changing faster than he realizes. Back in the empty streets of Kokoyasi, Zoro somehow finds out that Usopp has been captured.
We don't know how. Perhaps he overhears a stray fishman, or maybe he puts 2 and 2 together from finding Usopp's things, but not him. The method isn't important. What's important is his reaction. It's instantaneous. There's no debate, no weighing the options. Friend in trouble? Turn around. Go back.
Even after single-handedly fighting his way out of Arlong Park, bleeding from a wound he gave himself, he is going right back in for one person, for Usopp. That is the Straw Hat Bond in its purest form. You never, ever leave a man behind, no matter the odds. He's heading back towards Arlong Park.
And at the exact same time, the final piece clicks into place. Then we cut to the last panel and we see the boat with Luffy, Sanji, and Yosaku. And they're not just floating anymore. They've harnessed the unconscious Momoo to their boat. They're heading for the island too.
Everyone is converging on one spot. Arlong thinks he's just cleaning up a mess with one swordsman and one captive. He's preparing for a small, contained problem. He has no idea that the captain, the cook, and a very angry, very concussed sea cow are about to crash his party with the force of a cannonball.
The board is set. All the players are moving towards the final confrontation. This isn't just a rescue mission for Usopp anymore. This is about Nami. This is about the entire island.
This is war, and Arlong just declared it without knowing who he's fighting. He thinks he's playing chess against a lone pawn, but he's actually standing on the train tracks, and the Straw Hat Express is coming right for him.
It brings to mind Oda's author comment for the week. He thanks everyone for their birthday presents and says he'll return the favor by moving your hearts.
Bro, he's not waiting. My heart is already moved, stressed, and hyped all at once. This Nami situation is an emotional gauntlet, and we are right in the middle of it. The way he builds these character-driven crises is just unreal.
That dynamic between Arlong's trust and Nami's desperation is one of the most complex and mature things Oda has written so far. It's not just a hero fighting a villain. It's a deep dive into psychological abuse and the nature of hope. We'd love to hear what you all think is going through Nami's head in that moment. Is there any relief or is it pure terror? Let us know in the comments below.
Okay, that was a heavy one. Let's shift gears a little. Predictions for Chapter 74. What do you have for me, Robin?
All right, prediction 1, we're going to see Usopp's interrogation. Arlong will try to get information out of him about Luffy and the crew. He'll expect this long-nosed boy to break easily, but instead, Usopp will spin the most incredible, unbelievable lies about the great and powerful Captain Luffy and his 8,000 followers who are on their way to level the island.
Oh, I love that. Classic Usopp, using his one true weapon, his magnificent lies. It's his own form of resistance. Okay, I've got one. Luffy, Sanji, and Yosaku aren't just going to row up to Arlong Park, they are going to use Momoo. They're going to get that sea cow up to speed and ride it like a biological torpedo, smashing right through one of the walls of Arlong Park. A classic, unsubtle, super Luffy entrance.
That feels very plausible given their current setup. For my second prediction, we will get the full story of Nami's deal with Arlong. We've seen the consequences, but we don't know the origin. I believe we'll get a flashback to the moment the deal was made, 8 years ago. We need to understand the exact terms of this prison she's in, and I think we're about to see it. It will contextualize everything she's done.
That makes a lot of sense. The emotional weight of that would be huge. My next one is for Zoro. He's heading back to Arlong Park, a place he was literally just at. My prediction? He gets lost on the way back. He'll take a wrong turn trying to find the front gate and end up somewhere completely different, probably accidentally stumbling into Usopp's cell or running into one of the other officers by complete chance. The universe has to bend to accommodate his terrible sense of direction.
That would be painfully, hilariously on brand for him. My final prediction relates to the villagers. Genzo or Nojiko will make a move. They won't sit by while an outsider who tried to help them is captured and another is being hunted. They'll try to stage some small act of resistance on their own, not knowing the full force of the Straw Hats is coming. It will be brave, foolish, and it will put them in immediate grave danger, raising the stakes just before Luffy arrives.
Ooh, that's a good one. A civilian uprising that's about to get crushed right before the real cavalry arrives. Classic storytelling. For my last one, it's all about the chef. When they crash into Arlong Park amidst the chaos, the first thing Sanji will find is the fishmen's kitchen. And he will be so utterly professionally disgusted by how they prepare their food, probably leaving fish out, bad knife work, a total mess, that he picks a fight with the cook, who I'm guessing is Kuriobi, purely on culinary principle. The rescue mission will be secondary to Sanji's outrage over their lack of respect for ingredients.
A battle for the soul of the kitchen. I can certainly see it. It would be a very Sanji-centric conflict to introduce him to the enemy officers.
It's all coming to a head. The full force of the early Straw Hat crew, the indomitable captain, the master swordsman, the brilliant navigator, the legendary sniper, and the world-class cook are about to descend on Arlong Park.
And Arlong, sitting on his throne, confident in his power and his control, has no idea what's about to hit him. He's a shark in a pond, unaware that a typhoon is about to make landfall.
That's all the time we have for today. This has been Inherited Dawn. Join us next time as we dive into Chapter 74. Make sure you're following so you don't miss it.
Until then, watch out for monsters from the Grand Line, especially the ones who smile.